It's so nice to have Maddie with us. We are reviewing Squid Game. Is it Squid Game or Squid Games?
Squid Game.
Squid Game, Season 3. We're jumping in on Season 3, which seems a bit strange because we didn't do a similar thing for Season 1. Oh, why not? When did Season 1 come out?
Lockdown.
Oh.
It was 2020.
Oh, so that resonated for a whole host of different reasons back then in terms of the disenfranchised and slightly frustrated.
It came at the perfect time.
Oh, and then Season 2 came out earlier this year.
Yes.
And then Netflix did that really annoying thing that they started doing with Stranger Things, which is basically they've made them all, but then they split them into different seasons.
I kind of like it.
I
They didn't
did
make us
too.
wait too long for this season.
No.
I think they made us wait for the perfect amount of time.
And I think that's important because there's a number of people out there, all of them saying that they're leaving too long between things like The Last of Us. The build-up was too big for the payoff.
Yeah.
And The House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, same thing.
Yeah, you leave too long and it gets...
Get them out
Move on.
quicker. So Squid Game Season 3, it landed 9 days ago. We've seen it all. And of course, it's kind of a good opportunity to kind of reflect on both the entire franchise but also Season 2. You can't really get into Season 3 without back referencing Season 2 a bit.
Yeah.
What is it fundamentally that brought us back to the Squid Game franchise at all after Season 1?
I just feel like, obviously, it is an incredible show anyway.
It really
the
is.
acting, the
Concept.
plot, the concept, everything. But I feel like I genuinely mean it when I think that first season came at the perfect time for everybody. Like,
Right.
The world was so,
Yeah.
it still is messed up, but, it was messed up in a different kind of way at the point where Season 1 came out. And I feel like it was the perfect time for a franchise like that to come out where everybody can just, like, really get into it. It was so, and it's so horrific, the stuff that happens, that you can kind of, it helps you escape what's going on in the real world. But I think there will never ever be any disputing the hype that came with the first season of Squid Game. Like, everybody went mental over that show. So I feel like it was only inevitable that when the next one came out, that everybody was going to go crazy over it again. And as messed up as it is, there's all this excitement around, like, oh, what are the games going to be this season? Because they can't do it all the same as the first. And I think it was inevitable that the craze was going to be as big as it is.
Well, this Season 3, I think they're saying, the statistics that are coming out saying it's the most watched of any new series of anything ever. So it's outstripped, Season 3 has outstripped Season 2 and Season 1 of Netflix.
Oh, wow.
And Season 1 was almost like that kind of benchmark that I guess Netflix never thought they could reach.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think the thing that made Squid Game 1 so amazing, and I think when one says just the word Squid Game, what it immediately conjures up for me is brutal inhumanity. But and I love the meme that you showed me earlier today, but also within that brutal inhumanity, all of the best and all of the worst parts of being a human trying to survive. And I think that's what's so clever about it as a concept. Now, I know there are some people, I'm thinking of my mother, Nanny Di, who kind of just felt that the hype was too much. I actually genuinely think there's very few occasions where the hype is high and it's deservedly high.
Yeah.
Accompanying, because I came to Season 2 kind of thinking they're not going to be able to recreate this. I don't see how they're going to be able to do this a second time. But I found very quickly with Season 2, I was hooked.
I genuinely think it's done a really good job.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's hard with anything, but because Squid Game is so iconic.
Yes.
I just feel like everything about it is so iconic.
Yeah.
Anything that they kind of refer back to in these last 2 seasons from Season 1, you know what you're getting and all that kind of stuff. That there is an element of it's risky to do it again, because if you're that good a first time, how do you reach that level again without copying it or without disappointing people?
I totally agree.
I know a lot of people that's similar to what you're saying about how Nan felt about it, where a lot of people didn't bother to watch Season 1 when the hype started, because they were like, well, if something's this popular with everybody, then it means it can't be good. And then with Season 2 coming out, a bunch of people that didn't give it the chance back then were like, oh, because there's another season, I'll watch Season 1 so I can kind of know what's going on this time. And then they've watched Season 1 and they've been like, wait, actually, I missed out. This did deserve the hype that it got back in.
And also the other thing is, like you said, Season 1 had that parallel of lockdown, and we are going to do we're going to do a trot through each of the episodes in Season 3, because it's kind of the denouement of the entire franchise in terms of the South Korean version. Because I think this is something that helped and helps how I feel about Season 3 and the whole concept of this franchise, the South Korean franchise, is that knowing that this is the end of it, knowing that the director, the creator, has gone on the record, he's done lots of interviews, he absolutely has said, That's it. That's it for this iteration of it.
That's it from us.
Yeah, you'll understand what we mean, as in terms of what other iterations could there be. But I also think that what I was really struck by, and don't worry, this isn't going to become an entirely hijacked kind of conversation by what is going on in the world right now, but there is a brutality afoot, the genocide, that me and your mum, and I think you girls I could feel too, you couldn't help but ignore the parallels that there are within much of what these...
You can't help but not ignore.
Yeah, you can't help but not ignore the parallels that are occurring in this show, the brutality, the tests, the inhumane kind of destruction of life and dignity that goes on for these contestants, and then draw parallels with what is going on in Gaza. It's just so it's funny, isn't it, how and I find the reason I think it's important to say that, I think it's so crucial the way in which some people just go, oh, it's a film about people just, but all art and all films and movies and streaming shows are a reflection of cultural interests and cultural concerns, and they become connected to what's going on in the real world, and I think this really does that. So season 3, season 3 picks up, doesn't it, very much after straight away after the rebellion. I mean, it's almost like seconds after the end of season 2. We've had that huge rebellion at the end of season 2. They've tried, which was such a clever moment in the show. Yeah. It was like we were.
That's what I mean. The show picks up something new right at the point where it could get kind of too
totally agree.
Suddenly do something where you're like, okay.
Yeah, because we'd had that great long extended sort of shootout, if you like. And I'm not a big fan of shootouts. They get a bit boring and they're loud and noisy. But
it was really good.
It was really good at the end of season 2. And at the end of that shootout, there was such a sort of depletion. We'd so become invested in our main guy. And then, of course, we knew that the front man was embedded in amongst them and had befriended our main man. And you're going to have to apologise. I have terrible phrases for them. Maddie has some numbers for them and names for them. I've got types.
we don't want to get the pronunciations.
No, exactly. And our main guy, really, the start of this show is our main guy blaming the timid guy. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
He's got beef.
He's blaming the guy that had pretended he was a Marine.
Yeah.
That he faked having a tattoo and all that so that he could fit in with them, because he wasn't able to bring all of the magazines back.
That's right. What's his number, our main guy? Is he
456?
456. The thing that I've got that was really unsettling me at the beginning of this episode was because he was so thrown by the loss of his various kind of friends and people he was doing the rebellion with. His best friend.
Yes.
We lost his sanity, didn't we, really, for the first few episodes? And I was like, oh, fuck. He's lost. What are we going to do?
Probably disassociated.
And he's blaming this other guy, so he's got resentment and he's got fury. And then suddenly they're all back into this fucking, right, they've got to pick and choose who's going to stab and who's going to run, who's going to hide, who's going to seek. And I just thought even the scene where they were all told what they were going to do and they were given their issues as to what was coming, because the game doesn't really start, does it, until the next episode. So really, and I was also reminded of how important the transgender woman character had become a massive favourite for me after the rebellion.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a sensational fighter. She just had everyone's backs and everything. So
arguably the coolest character.
Absolutely the coolest character. So my sort of dependency, because I don't know if you find this, whenever you're watching something that's quite distressing and disturbing, I think we all as viewers kind of lean on someone for kind of hope.
Yeah,
and because our main guy was having a fucking breakdown and clearly was about to try and kill himself.
She was the safest.
Yeah.
I literally was like, if I was in Squid Game, the person I'd want to stick by is her. She's like the only motherfucker.
So this got us back in. We're out of the rebellion. We're about to go into a new fucking game, horrendous game, and we've also got the North Korean woman who is one of the shooters, who's rescuing and helping to rescue the father of the dying girl.
She does successfully save.
Yes.
So we're seeing her, like, she dresses him up as one of the.
That's
other,
right. Let's just spend a moment on her. What a remarkable character and actress.
Yeah, she's awesome,
isn't she? And again, I like the way. I mean, I'd be really curious to
know.
Like,
they don't hesitate to make the women really strong. In these.
No, absolutely.
It's the same in season 1 as well.
Yeah, but also I'd be really interested to know how her being North Korean, what that means to a South Korean audience. Do you know what I mean? I mean, because in a weird way,
because the main girl in season 1,
she was
really gorgeous one. She was. The whole thing was that she was from.
So they very much established that we've got this separate narrative, and I have to be really honest. I wasn't entirely. At first, I was thinking, how am I going to feel about knowing that we have a mole effectively in amongst the guards? Is that going to diminish? But they had to do something different, so that kind of worked. And also, by the end of episode 1, we are all seriously suspicious of the captain of the ship. with the incredible head of
We
hair.
were suspicious of him from day dot.
Right, so episode two, the Starry Night. Come on, take us into the stabbing and the hiding, the maze.
But I genuinely think this was possibly one of the most brutal games, and not even necessarily because I would argue, some of them
A more
were
sophisticated.
a lot more, yeah. It wasn't that it was necessarily the most sophisticated one, but I just think it's so brutal that each of the seekers had to kill someone, and if they didn't kill someone, they would be eliminated themselves.
It's visceral. Visceral, that thing of... Because I always think killing someone... I'm not suggesting for a minute I could. But if you're going to kill someone, I can see how it would be easier with a gun.
Oh yeah, because it's less personal, and to stab someone is like a really hard thing to do, because you could just not look and shoot.
Yeah.
But with a knife, you have to get up close and personal and actually
and feel the resistance
put it through somebody's body. Like, that's not easy.
They managed to.
So it's all well and good to like sit and watch the show and be like, just kill them. Yeah. I don't actually know if I. No, maybe I would. I
mean, your mum finds a lot of Squid Game too much to look at. I was a bit loath last night as we wrapped up the series to say to her, do you know what, Nads, actually, you're such a fucking pussy. Because this is really restrained. Although the scenes are violent, when you see the parts of the bodies, when I think of some things like Quentin Tarantino and all that kind of stuff, they actually, it's a weird thing to say about Squid Game, I don't think it's gratuitous, weirdly.
Really?
I mean, it's violent, but within the context of what they're doing, I don't think we hover over body parts.
Yeah, it doesn't go too...
No, maybe I've just been desensitized.
No, I mean, it's definitely gruesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would agree. They could go into more detail of broken bones and stuff if they wanted to.
Yeah,
which
but they didn't. Okay, so they're running around the maze. You've got all of this kind of stuff. I liked it. It was a bit like Monument Valley, wasn't it? They'd open doors and they could fall to their deaths.
Yeah, it was really stressful.
Oh, so stressful.
I don't know who I would rather be in that case, whether I'd rather be a hider or a seeker, because on top of everything else, the ones that are trying to hide, they're also all given keys, but then they find out that not every key can fit every door, so you kind of have to work as a team with people.
And then you need 3 keys, don't you?
Yeah, it was genuinely, I would say maybe the most stressful episode of any of the Squid Games, just because it consistently just stayed within it, and it was just like the whole time it was just like, oh my god, anybody could die at any second.
And a lot of really fucking horrible things happen, and a lot of important things, people die.
And a lot of important people go in this one, and did not hesitate to kill. And this is only episode 2 of season 3. I was like, oh my god, we've killed like almost all
I couldn't cope with the emotional angst of this episode. So you got the pregnant woman snaps her ankle.
Yeah, badly.
And then gives birth.
And I've just done my knee in, and that was hard to watch.
I know. Do you know what? Have you seen Challengers, the film?
No, but I have seen the knee bit.
Right, thank you. I saw that film the night after I saw it. I knew it was coming. I didn't look at the shot, and on the next day I popped my knee.
Oh.
So I don't think anyone with knee issues.
Is that why you hate the?
It's one of the reasons. Actually, it was probably the most effective bit. So pregnant woman snaps her ankle. The trans woman becomes the great protector. She goes into fucking marine-style overdrive.
Lady,
yeah, I mean, Christ almighty, thank God she
was...
Whereas our main guy goes off and strangles Wimpy guy, doesn't he, on the stairs? I mean, he's lost his shit.
Well, no, they spend the whole episode with him trying to find... them trying to find each other.
I missed our main guy. I was thinking, fucking hell, he's in the right old mess. But really, the drama for me in this, the biggest moment in this, was the older mum towards the end, once the babies come out. They're trying to get through a locked door.
That's the baby.
Yeah, and her son, who I've dubbed the Korean Nigel Slater, he's. Can we just spend a moment just about his character? I found him a really fascinating character.
Yeah, me too.
The mother-son.
Yeah.
I both loved them both. I loved something about the relationship. He was clearly uselessly and spinelessly dependent and pathetic, and yet at the same time,
such a good, clever character to have.
Yeah, because I wanted to look after him.
Yeah, I still liked him even at the end. Like, he was just well, she said it herself, he was just...
Would you call him a snowflake? He kind of was. He couldn't kill. I mean, his problem was he couldn't kill anyone.
But it's not being able to murder someone being a snowflake.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, I agree. So that's what I mean, though. So when he presented the fact to his own mum...
Well, she knew that he wasn't going to be able to kill someone. That's why she didn't want to swap teams with him. She was like, you're not going to be able to do it. You can even fight off bullies in school.
And what happens?
She ends up having to kill him because he was going to kill the baby. It's awful.
Well, there you go. He's a snowflake.
Genuinely, it's so sad, that bit.
It's
couldn't
awful.
even cope with it.
It's awful.
But we also do lose... what's the transgender's?
Yeah, I think her name is Hyun-ju.
Hyun-ju.
I've written it down. Hyun-ju.
So her death, arguably, I actually think it's the most I cried
And you cried a lot.
I cried at everyone's death, but I think I might have cried the most. And that one was, wasn't expecting it.
No.
And it's the fact that it's the father of the baby that did it. Like, and he'd already killed somebody. He'd already passed the game.
Yeah.
And him and the junkie were just killing people to get more money, so that more people didn't have somebody to kill, so that there was more money pile up. So there was no need for her to die, and he still fucking killed her. And then he killed her in front of his baby that's just been born, and in front of the girl he was trying to... It was, everything about that death was tragic, because she knew that he'd already passed, because she heard like, oh, number, da-da-da-da, like, passed.
Was he was his business... He was the cryptocurrency boy, wasn't he? He was the one in the outside world who had all his money lost. He built cryptocurrency, the dad of the baby. I think that's where his debt came from.
Oh.
I think he was majorly successful as a sort of crypto influencer. And lost all his money. I found him a really challenging character, actually. I didn't know what I felt about... Yeah, I didn't know what I felt about him throughout. Right down to... Again, I think the thing about this show that's so interesting, it forces you to want to find the niceness in someone, because actually, I think if you watch this show and you're like, yeah, can't wait for him to go, you're part of the problem. Whereas I think even like with the fat, greedy man, every now and then I was willing him to be nice. Did you not find that? I was thinking maybe they'll just be...
Oh no, the greedy man I just knew he was just one of those that was just evil through and through. But I thought 333 is a really interesting character though, because I think all of his stuff came from desperation, and he just lost himself more and more as time went on. Yeah. And it's like I am somebody that when I love a show I get obsessed. Like, so I, you know, even though the show's over, I'm still completely...
She's immersed.
Filling up all my time with it by like reading into it more and noticing all the Easter eggs and all the little details. And when you look back at how he is at the start of season 2, like, he's way more caring. He was scared to kill anyone. First person he kills is Thanos.
Yes.
And then slowly gets more and more desensitized the way he kills people.
That's true. Yeah.
And I think that
Thanos being the crazy
he's a complex
drug
character, because he's not just straight up an awful person.
Yeah.
He's a really young guy.
Maybe I'd allowed myself to forget all of that, because I just found it towards the end. I just was like, oh my god. Well, no, but we'll get to the end, because even at the end, I was like, no, maybe he is.
I think there was always a sliver of hope with him.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe there was even a sliver of hope in him for himself.
I think that's what makes it so sad.
Desperation. See, this is a show about what humans do in a desperate situation. And I was saying to the guys earlier today, it's a total analogy for capitalism in modern day society, where, you know, all the oligarchs and billionaires just want us to fight each other rather than actually look up and go, you're the fucking problem. Which brings us to episode 3. It's called It's Not Your Fault. And the beginning of this threw me, because we're back in the maze again, or we haven't left the maze, and VIPs are in there, undercover.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Bit.
I'm not sure how I felt.
I mean, I've always said it was the same thing with season 1. The only thing that I never liked in season 1 was the VIP stuff. And I get that was like the next thing that needed to happen, but I've just always found it really stiff and awkward with the acting from them. Can
I ask you, maybe you know, and I'm asking you because you are sort of obsessive in the way that I love about these things, but do you think here's what I think has happened with their characters. I think they performed in South Korean and they were dubbed into English, and I think it accounts for the slightly dislocated...
I thought maybe that, but I don't know if that is the case. I think there's some...
They were dubbed.
There's something weird. No, I don't know if they were dubbed. They were subtitled. I think there's just something... There's just something off. There's something that doesn't work with it, and
quite a few people have had an issue with it around the VIPs.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on it.
And yet at the same time, the further it went on, I think your mum felt this, the further it went on, that cold, dispassionate soullessness kind of became quite effective in a weird way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and this is the thing, like, I don't have a problem with the VIPs itself, because I think that is a great, like, next level. You have got people watching it, and they're these weird fucked up rich people that just don't care for anyone. Yeah. But there's something about the acting from them that it never works. Didn't work last time, and it didn't work this time. Yeah. But it doesn't bother me that much. I get to, because the rest of the show's so perfect. But it's always it's always their bits that I get a bit like. And it's just get back to the games.
And it's very much like that Spanish film that was on Netflix during lockdown, the platform, isn't it? You've got that sense of the rich and the.
But that did it well.
Yeah, that did do it well actually. The second film not very good. Old woman. All right, so our old lady, the mother of the son who of the guy she's killed.
She's one of my favourite characters.
I thought we had one of the strongest, shot, reverse shot, talking head, duologue type scenes in the entire series between her and our main guy. I just thought her moment where she sort of explains to 456, she says, look, I had to kill my son, and she pulls him out of his reverie. This is a critical moment, the opening of this episode.
Because she's like asking him to look after
the girl,
the baby,
and the girl with the broken ankle now. So I mean, fucking hell, I felt personally responsible for a baby and a girl with a broken foot. And
so
I think with you
stressful.
having a bad leg and me being a dad, I just felt the cunt was so...
Yeah, whenever she was walking on that ankle, I was just thinking my knee.
And then tell us what happens. And we didn't... I could see you hadn't quite clocked it until the guy...
No, I had a feeling in my stomach when she kept saying, like, please look after the baby and stuff. I was like, why? Can't you?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, it was just awful because we get this monologue that's so beautifully performed by her. She's such a good actress,
Cracking
honestly.
actress.
And then in the morning we see one of those coffins being brought through, and I still didn't want. I was like, why is there a coffin coming here?
Yeah.
What is that about?
And I looked at you and I said, you know what that is?
Yeah, and then obviously we very unfortunately see her hanging off one of the beds.
I found that one of the most poignant moments, and that coupled with the fact that I had all these confusing emotions about what her and her son's relationship was, and it did
But
me
it's
in
like,
that.
you know, how could you live with yourself if you had to just kill your own child?
Fucking hell. Mum.
But it was really, I thought that bit was just done so well.
It
Nothing was
beautifully
said.
done.
And then there was this just awful moment of the girl like seeing her hanging up there and then starts sobbing, and the baby starts sobbing in unison with her.
Yeah.
I was just like, does it just get any more depressing?
Give it this good moment. Just tell us about the baby. AI baby? CGI baby?
yeah.
Doesn't cry a lot, does it?
Yeah, you and Mum really had a problem with that.
Well, because
I genuinely
we've
think
had babies.
And I genuinely think maybe the reason they haven't done that, I feel like people would have complained if a baby was crying all the way through every scene.
But your mum did make a good point. There were a couple of moments where they could have really ratcheted up the drama by adding that. But there is a stress to the baby crying that I think maybe would have just put people off.
I think genuinely sometimes like a baby crying over something, I'm just a bit like...
Fuck off. Just
Get
throw the
it.
baby down the hole.
But I think they genuinely had to CGI that baby because I don't think
Yes.
the baby could have gone through the stress of those scenes. That baby's getting thrown about and like people... I totally get why they couldn't be a real baby.
Okay, so in this episode, just because it's around here, what did you make of the off-island story? So the ship's captain gets rumbled in this episode.
Oh,
We kind
yeah.
of discover that hairy man, who something about his hair is so impressive.
The captain.
The captain,
It's
yeah.
such a thick head of hair.
I've never. Well, I have. Melvin Bragg, who's a journalistic presenter, and I don't see hair like that often.
It was quite...
It was
genuinely
phenomenal.
quite impressive for a head of hair. Every time he was on screen, I was just looking at that thick head of hair.
I couldn't escape his hair.
I want hair like that.
I want hair like that.
It's just like perfect tone of grey, and its thickness is just...
But he looked almost like Dougal from the Magic Roundabout. There was a sort of wow, you know. I didn't want him to be a baddie. I really didn't. But he fucking was.
He was too sassy.
And although
you
I
don't
felt
have a head of hair like that and be a...
no, and because he had such a head of
person as
hair
well.
like that, his dog got his head cut off.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an odd moment. So that whole plot, I mean, it's crucial, that whole plot, because the off-island plot is what drives the escape eventually. But
Yeah. I mean...
should have said this is a spoiler review.
It was slightly frustrating because
I felt it.
nothing ended up... Nothing ended up happening. Like, I've
No.
got a lot of people online that are laughing a
please
lot
you
at
say
the
that.
fact that the entire season 2 and season 3 is like the detective trying to get to the island,
And he never gets there.
having every single person on his team murdered so that he can get there, just for him to get in there for 5 minutes and ask his brother why,
Yeah.
and then leave. Like, that's genuinely all he achieved.
Yeah.
Like, people's like, can we talk about all the detective did was get 20 men killed so he
Yes.
could ask his nonchalant brother why,
Yeah.
and then ended up being a single parenting father of a child that wasn't his,
Yeah.
and ended up winning all the money of the dead bodies of the people he was supposedly going to save.
I have nothing more to add. I think that Mads has beautifully summed up the pointlessness of the external story.
But hey ho, he's a beautiful man, and
Yeah.
I won't complain with his presence.
And it introduced us to Barry Korean.
Oh, I don't know if that's...
So really, going back to George Lucas's 3 stories, you've got the main, story.
Main story, the detective story, and then the North Korean woman.
I found the North Korean external story. I felt I could have lived with that more and actually been forced to not know what was going on in the outside world. I think that could have created more of a sense of claustrophobia.
Yeah, but at one point we had 4 going on.
Yes.
So we had the detective, we had
Yeah.
the North Korean woman, and then we had the guy that was trying to get into the
Yes.
captain's house and then
Yes.
got mauled by his dog and all
Yes.
this kind of stuff.
He
I
looked
do really like him though.
I liked
He
him.
was really good in season 2.
Yeah.
Don't forget season 2's the whole one where he had to do that insane episode where they had to do the rock,
Oh.
paper, scissors with the salesman with the guns
Oh
to
my
their head. And he
God,
was, like,
yes.
incredible.
Yes.
I would actually rewatch all of these seasons again.
Incredibly well made.
So
Brilliantly shot, brilliantly paced. Okay, and then we enter, just towards the end of this episode, we enter Jump Rope, and we all gasped with horror as we heard the kind of scimitar-like,
oh my god, it was so loud.
And so
I would definitely die. I mean, I would have died in all of them, but I would definitely die in that one.
And we just knew it was just going to be a fucking shit show.
And the song as well was so scary.
And we got the woman with a broken ankle. We've got a baby.
She's got a baby and a broken
junkie.
ankle. Got a junkie. Well, we've got 2 junkies now.
Yeah.
Min-soo. Min-soo, can we talk about his character?
Yes.
So he's the one that in season 2 was mostly like, I don't want to say pathetic, because he was more just very sweet and shy and scared all the time. But obviously, like the whole of season 2, we're seeing him as this very like timid, sweet little guy, but then who's really close with that girl, who he ends up seeing get brutally forked in the neck. And then it's like completely fucked him up for the rest of season 3, basically, having witnessed that. And then he takes like one of the pills in hide and seek.
What were the pills?
Yeah.
I mean, Nanny Di would know.
Thanos says in like season 2, because the guy was like, what is it, ketamine, ecstasy? He was like, this is everything. You don't want to know what this is.
Fucking hell.
But and then he ends up
I would have taken the pills in there.
But apparently they give you like
super strength,
just like confidence to be able to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like I maybe would, because it's like if you're gonna die, you might as well
die on a high.
But he basically becomes a junkie.
Yeah, he's
an
interesting character. He comes to a sort of sticky end, doesn't he? But
I loved his character.
Yeah, I felt sorry for him. So they all wait and wait and wait.
Character.
Huh?
He's a popular character.
He's a popular character.
Amongst people.
Is he? He's a conflicted character because he is both weak, but he's also not, and he's a victim.
Well, he gets his comeback basically.
Yeah.
Because the other junkie with the long hair. He is incredible. Like
he's such a cracking.
I genuinely think he's insane.
Yeah.
And it might get overlooked because he's not necessarily a goodie, so a lot of people don't.
And he was a bit in Thanos' shadow for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah. He's so good.
Do you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of the purple villain in Monsters Inc.
Randall.
Yeah. He's got that sort of, I don't know whether it's his hair, but he's got that sort of thing.
But apparently he's a really good actor in general. There's a bunch of other Korean.
Oh right. Well, he comes to a sticky end, doesn't he? On the jump rope in the next episode. But at the end of this episode, main guy gets across with the baby. Brilliant. He just goes, he does it, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But then,
great job.
Yeah, and then does the druggy guy throw the drug? He throws the drug.
He dies first.
Yeah, he dies first. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, Min-soo like throws the cross into the middle of the thing, and he manages to make it halfway because he kept saying like, I need the drugs, so I can't do anything without them. But he manages to get to the middle, thinking, oh, I can get the drug. Opens the thing, there's none left. He gets fucking swiped.
Fuck. It's brutal, isn't it? See, for example, in this,
he wasn't that bad a guy before he started taking the pills in there. I don't know if you remember.
Drugs
that,
don't work, guys. Drugs don't work. They
make you worse.
They make you worse. I was expecting it when it hit people to kind of dislocate their legs. That's what I mean. They could have gone even more on that kind of body horror, but it didn't.
To get all like proper fling people.
Yeah, just to tip them over. People tipped over. But by the end of this episode, you've got some fucking nut job, and I've got his number because I fucking hate him so much. I've written his number down.
What's his number?
096.
Ugh.
What was wrong with him?
Just shoving people off.
Just shoving people off
to get more money.
And I have to be brutally honest. The guy, our main guy, was taking too long. But we then move over to episode 4, and episode 4 is just titled 222. Why is that?
Because it's 222's death.
Oh, Mum, with broken ankle. I mean, she was never going to get across. I kept looking. You know what?
She's so could have tried. I'm sorry. She so could have hopped.
Hang on. I do Joe Wicks every week, and one of his challenges is to do a thrust squat hop on one leg. And
she doesn't need to do a thrust squat hop. She just needed to hop. People are on TikTok proving that she could have done it.
Oh no.
So they they're also coming at 333 that he could have attempted to try and help her across.
Yeah, well, I
which
thought
do
that.
think he could have,
I think
considering he's quite literally the father of her child.
Yes.
But people like partners on TikTok and stuff are showing them like guys like holding like onto her shoulders like this, and then the girl's hopping, and they both use the momentum together to jump up, and it's very feasible.
But was it wide enough? I don't think it was wide enough.
No, they're going horizontally. Everybody jumped forward. Nobody thought about jumping horizontally.
That's a really good... Because you wouldn't see the fucking thing coming.
Yeah, you can. You face the way that it's coming.
Oh, you jump horizontally.
If you jump sideways and you see the rope coming like this, all you have to do is jump over it. You don't have to jump sideways.
Isn't that a mean detail to have the gap in the middle of
so mean.
Whoever
When the
thinks
guy
of these
fell
games
and he
is
was looking at 333 saying, help me. It's like, what do you expect 333 to do?
What the fuck can he do? He's got to jump.
He's got to jump across as
I
well.
kept trying to work out if there was just a slither of a line where you could have lain on the floor, but obviously someone could have then just crawled across, couldn't they? So
I was looking at that, and the rope, the gap between the rope and the floor was like that. You couldn't even.
I mean, I thought our main guy was going to go across, and in the 36 seconds, I thought there's no way he can do that. I mean, it was incredibly effective, incredibly stressful. Just when you thought they couldn't invent a new game that would be more, I thought it was almost one of the best.
Yeah, because it was the same as one of the most brutal games in season 1 was the glass jumping one, where you jump on one a certain piece of glass, it cracks, but then the other glass didn't. Yeah. Both bridge games were. It seems
really
to be
horrendous.
the thing.
So Mum throws herself off, sacrifices herself. That was a horrendous moment. And of course now for me,
her little speech before she went.
Oh. And then for me, of course, Baby becomes a bit of a problem. Because...
Oh, wait, what? Like, you didn't...
Well, it's not surprising that there was going to be huge resentment from the rest of the competitors, because suddenly it's now, it's in the game, it was her baby, it's now 2-2-2.
They decide to, like, make the baby her, stand in her place.
And I thought that was just, again, narratively, in terms of storytelling, it was a really neat beat, because, of course, at this point, you are so stressed. It makes our guy, who is, you know, our main guy, who's kind of really, was it 4-5-6? 4-2-6?
4-5-6. Just think it's like 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
4-5-6.
the word up. So 4-5-6, because even though he'd had his moment where he's lost in fucking doubt, but then Mum, who kills son, brings him out of it, and you think, yeah, he's back. But then suddenly the fact that he's got this mollusk of a baby attached to him makes him vulnerable again. Yeah. And you sort of think, oh God, what's he going to do about this?
Yeah, our whole baby stopped having stress. Yeah. It was like, God.
And when you've seen the amount of brutality...
And the fact that it was a CGI baby, I was like, this must mean that somebody's going to like brutally murder it.
Or they're going to turn it into jam or something like that.
Right, too far.
Do you know what I mean? So the baby's resented, but and they introduce a rule where they mustn't assault or kill each other
in between games.
Yeah, but for me, the stress really is Ji-hun, our guy, and the baby. But there's an interesting moment in this episode where our is it Ji-hun? Jun-ho?
Did you say
4-5-6? 4-5-6 is invited to meet the front man. I'm going to say something really odd.
But also, I also figured out quite a horrible detail before that happens. You know how they're all like around the table and they're eating dinner and stuff.
They've got their prize.
Yeah.
They're not eating the other contestants.
No.
Oh.
I just always find that a bit horrible anyway. They were so greedy with their food. They're like, get me more rice. And I thought that was just disgusting. But anyway, the babies brought a bottle of milk and they got the milk from her dead body.
No. How do you know that?
That's just why I wrote that. That's one of the things.
Oh, that's such a detail too far.
So feeding the baby milk from her bottle.
And there was me thinking that the guard doing it was kind of
They took the milk from her body.
Oh my God. This is odd. So of course they had the luxury, they had the prize for Last Supper, all that kind of stuff. But 4-5-6 is invited to meet the front man, masked up.
He still doesn't know is the dude.
He doesn't know it was his right-hand man and best friend and kind of closest confidant in season 2. But just before we get into that scene, which I thought was a remarkable scene and a remarkable reveal, I've got a bad crush on the front man. I don't know what to do about it.
I think Mum does as well.
I can't get enough of his face.
He has a remarkable face.
He's heartbreaking and heartbrokenly beautiful.
Yeah, no, he is really.
He almost makes me want to cry. No, I mean, I'm pleased your mum feels that way, because it means if he ever pops up, we can marry him.
Yeah.
So the front man, the masked man, kind of brings him up.
I must say, it's probably the most attractive cast that's ever existed. Squid Game. Just everyone's so
beautiful,
bewitching.
And front man reveals himself to be who he was, and I really felt for 4-5-6 because he was like.
Oh, that scene was so well acted, the two of them. You know, they've been friends since they were in their 20s.
That makes me even more emotional. I'm getting frisson.
There's a photo.
There's a boat owner.
There's a photo of the two of them on the cover of a magazine in the 90s. And
no way! Oh my God, as good looking as they are. It's not just good looking, there's a radiance of something.
Just everyone's.
I also like the way he drank bourbon or brandy or whatever.
Yeah, it made you always want to drink.
Made me want to, literally.
He did make it look really refreshing.
Fucking hell, with the way he put a tumbler down. I was like, oh my God, the sound, the heft, the feel.
You're also thinking of the other guy, the temporary mask guy.
Yes.
He would always drink.
Oh.
You liked his face too.
Loved his face too. Got a little bit of a bike crush. So it's revealed to 4-5-6 who he is, and I thought that was a great moment. But frontman gives him a knife and said you can slit all their throats, slit all their throats and kill them. Which I thought, can I just ask, being a stickler for detail, how could he have got away with that if they've just introduced the rule that they can't kill other competitors?
Yeah, well, but he's the rule maker.
And he's the rule breaker.
And the rule is put there so that he will be the next frontman.
Right.
because then we do see him, the front man, do it back when he was a contestant.
Yeah, we get flashback, don't we? We get a bit of his backstory. I like that.
Backstory.
I like that. So this is being handed down like a baton of fucking torture. And so you think, oh my God, 456's future is going to be as a front man. That was our dog's stomach. By the end of episode 4, the man with the most glorious hair in South Korea
gets harpooned in the heart.
Just the only way you can kill a man with hair like Neptune,
you need
he's got Neptune hair.
Let's think about it. He got harpooned to the heart and he still had a monologue before he died.
All that hair. He's got a hairy heart. It was amazing. He was Neptune-esque.
He was something else.
He was like,
I should have died a long time ago. Thanks for that. That's literally what he said.
Yeah, he was so.
So I actually should have died ages ago. So thanks.
Do you know what? Actually, you might feel you've achieved something here, but
I've been asking for this for a very long time.
You're really the 8th in line to this. This should have happened way before. You are not worthy of that harpoon. Yeah. Anyway, so he gets it in the Getsy, and so that story is they're getting ever closer, but never quite.
Ever close, but ever running out of time.
Forever running out of time.
So it's all done now. Maybe in the last episode.
Okay, so wonderful moment in episode 5 which is just titled The Three Symbols, but our main man, 456, he can't, I love this moment. I thought this made my crush go through. He couldn't slice the throats of his competitors. He went to do it, flashback to front man doing it. Because of, he can't go there. And the front man's face.
He told us so much with his eyes.
What was he doing there as an actor? So much. Oh, really hurt.
He was really
hurt my head.
He was really going through that thought process.
Fucking hell. And he just was like...
He told us so many things without saying a single thing.
He really did.
What was it that you guys said? He's the man of...
Nothing.
Little words.
A man of few words.
Man of few words.
Heft.
Yeah, because he doesn't have to say much to literally portray everything that would be said.
He wasn't even actually tearful, but he was
at
that point just before
literally
tearful.
What he told us was, oh shit, I could have done that.
Yes. But I couldn't because I'm not as good a man.
Because I'm not as good a person.
He's a better man than me. And so in that sense, in a weird way, our main man, 456, wins every game, doesn't he? Oh. But does he win the game? So the front man is moved emotionally. He didn't have what 456 had. But then we have the final game and they're all on top of what at times looked like a PlayStation kind of controller, don't it? The three symbols. It's like on top of a... Yeah. And I like this. This was Monument Valley gone mad. They're on top of 3 podiums. And
this one was... rough.
This was rough because it was quite brutal and rugged in its simplicity. They had to kill at least one person on each platform.
Minimum of 3 people, and it had to at least be 1 on each platform.
I was doing a lot of arithmetic in these episodes. I was working out, right, if you turn to and if you don't.
Yeah.
I thought
this one was stressful. I loved how much they sat with this one though.
Yes.
There was a lot of sitting with the panic that they were all having on top of the...
Yeah, and I thought this was excellent. And I have to say that what was that little... you know how they get awards now? I think they're going to get an Oscar for it, but they do Emmys and Golden Globes for ensemble performances. The ensemble of men on the top, the gaggle of men, guys. Negotiating between themselves with 333 in there. I thought there was some of the most sensational... It was verging on comedy, but it was theatrical.
Yeah, no, it was so good.
It was so good. It was Shakespearean. It was
so captivating as well. Like, I didn't realise how long we were sitting in it for. I was just.
I could have gone for longer. Yeah. I could have gone for longer. And they were such well-drawn characters. You had the fat, greedy man in there still. They're all self-interested, but then they just managed to, and this is where the direction is so good and the script is so good. They managed to just give us little slithers of humanity where one doubts, and then the doubt would creep in, and it would. I just thought this was some of the classiest acting.
I also thought 333's acting was really good in all of these bits because he barely said anything.
Yes.
It was all in his face, and the whole time I was like, "What are you planning? Like, are you planning on saving your child?
Yes.
Whose side are you on? Like, what?"
Yeah.
But he was just so good at not letting us know too much.
Yeah.
But still kind of.
And what's the number of the boy who was kind of hallucinating everywhere? Just sort of
his name's Min-soo.
Min-soo. I mean, poor old Min-soo. He goes right over there. I was getting vertigo. I had vertigo. It was just like, oh, fucking hell.
Quite high up.
Couldn't bear it.
Yeah, he was hallucinating.
Yeah.
And it was so sad because he hallucinated holding her hand and then he got was actually the pole pushing him off.
Well, and it was the dad of the baby who discovered the pole was a great tool for just pushing people off.
And they have to push a button that
such a
starts
clever
off the
detail.
game. So if like if you push someone off before the button's pressed, then that body doesn't count.
It's got to be within
so
the
you have
time.
to press the button.
It's a fucking evil game.
They get rid of him on that platform. I was very sad about it.
And I thought what was so great about this episode was you saw these men turn and start to destroy themselves. It was almost like watching mice in a cage, given survival as the kind of antidote, and they all just ate each other. And so you just saw the unraveling, and as they unraveled and unraveled and unraveled,
because they started off being really solid, that group of being
so
like,
solid.
We're
Absolutely, but one by one, then
slowly fell apart.
They so fell apart, and I just thought it was incredible. But then, of course, can we just spare a moment for the poor chap who ends up being the last of the group?
They get onto the second platform, don't they?
Yeah. Oh, yes, they get onto the second platform. Then they have so yes, that's right, because they've got rid of hallucinating Nutter over there.
Oh my god! And this bit was also stressful because they first of all do this thing where they all like tie their jackets to each other, so that one of them goes to try and grab the baby, and then the dad of the baby's got the pole to push our main guy off.
This is when the baby was oddly quiet for a procedure.
And then he manages. We forget that he's got a knife on him still, and then he manages to cut the jacket. So we thought that all 5 of them were just going to go flying off the edge because they were going to. Then they don't.
No.
And then there's all this fighting going on. People getting stabbed. People getting chucked.
Yeah, but then they come up with this awful idea to let's just beat up this one guy, make him our lunchbox.
They call him the lunchbox.
Which
they say, let's just beat him to a pulp and then drag him to the third platform and then push him off.
At this point, you're thinking, oh my God, they've learned from the IDF, because this is the kind of nastiness that's happening in the real world. But you're just like, oh my God.
But I do have something controversial.
Say it.
They'd already beaten him to a pulp. I do kind of think they should have at that point pushed him off, because he was realistically not going to get anywhere after that.
But that guy, I loved his final line.
I don't want to be your lunchbox. No, it's not funny. It's awful.
It's got to be.
He was like, sorry, I don't really feel like being your lunchbox. And I just went. It was awful. I genuinely felt so sorry for that guy.
He broke my heart. I really
couldn't. Because they were beating him up, and then they like pulled his leg off.
They broke his leg
again. My knee.
They broke his leg.
My knee went numb.
I'm not going to be. You know what? I think alongside 4, 5, 6, he maintained his dignity there.
You know what? Fair enough.
I wouldn't want to be anyone's lunchbox.
No, it was awful. I didn't even know him, and I was really crying.
I almost feel like I need to go onto social media to check out the actor's okay.
I felt really sad because we were sat with our main guy and the dad for a bit, like they were exchanging looks, and then the next thing we know, this guy's on the floor and they're beating him to a pulp, and I'm like, when did they come to the decision of it being him? Like they were all a team, and then suddenly he was on the floor. I was like, why did we pick him?
The main instigator was that really tall guy with the long face. It was really frightening.
Really frightening. He was brilliant. 120.
He was so good. So good. It's so tense.
But yeah, they beat him to a pulp, and then anyway, they end up killing all of them. They end up killing that guy, the old greedy man, finally. And then it's just the lunchbox left, and he basically, because in our heads at this point we're like, okay, it's gonna be okay, because they'll be able to, unfortunately, they'll just drag him to the next one. They get rid of him, and then the dad, our main guy, and the baby will all be okay. But yeah, he goes, sorry, don't really feel like being
Don't fancy being your lunchbox.
Don't fancy being your lunchbox today.
I'm out of it. So they've lost their lunchbox, and then I think, does episode 5 end with them on the bridge? And then they give them, it was really clever. So they're going to move over to the final thing. So you've got the dad of the baby, you've got 4, 5, 6, you've got baby. Baby is now 222. And you now know that one of them has to die.
Yeah.
One of them has to die.
It has to be the baby, or it has to be the main guy, or it has to be the dad.
Yeah.
Which I didn't really want anyone to die.
And so 4, 5, 6 tries not to get the dad of the baby tries to stop them coming over, doesn't he?
Well, he's like, pass me the baby, you can stay on that platform and we'll survive if you just let me kill this baby. Which I was shook about, because at this point I still was convinced that he was gonna do a full 180 and be like, I
thought he'd suddenly got paternal instincts.
Yeah,
I was hoping he had paternal instincts.
But I still felt for, because I basically see this big kind of, without getting into the details, like they have a big kerfuffle about trying to save the baby's life, and he's like holding the dad is like holding the baby at the edge, but you can tell he wasn't going to be able to do it.
Yeah,
he holds the baby for ages. He was like, I'll do it,
and he struggles,
and then he keeps crying, and he's like, I'll do it. He doesn't.
There is a spark and glimmer of humanity.
He breaks my heart. He genuinely does. Like, he is the cause of many of my other favourite characters' deaths, but he still breaks my heart, because I still don't think he meant any of it.
But I thought he did a really good thing for us. So they managed to get onto that top thing there, and the scuffle, it all kicks off, and basically dad of baby goes.
Well, they both fall off the edge.
Yeah, they both fall off the edge, hanging.
on for dear
But
life.
Dad of Baby gets
Dies.
his comeuppance. But then, of course,
And then
we're left with 4,
he
5,
gets up.
6. He gets in the baby. At
And the
which point,
button wasn't pressed.
oh fuck! Of
So
course.
the dad's
I
death
forgot.
didn't count, which means the baby or our 4, 5, 6 love of our life has to die. Genuinely, I keep seeing all of these TikToks of everybody just
pressed the
watching the
fucking
scene, going like,
button.
"Press the
Press the
button!
button."
Press the button!"
I mean, I was screaming, press the button. I mean, so next time you're in, you find yourself in a situation like this, read the rules. Please read the rules. Just make sure you
Check
know.
the back of the box.
Check the back of the box and the small print, because if only they'd pressed the button. So because he hadn't pressed the button, either
It
him or
didn't
the
count.
baby. Do you think lots of people would say hurl the baby over the edge?
I've seen a lot of people saying that if it was them, they would have just chucked the baby over.
Fucking hell. Don't forget it's a CGI baby. It's not a real baby.
It's not a real baby, guys. It's
And
also not a real
fiction.
thing.
It's a fiction.
It's difficult. I do think it's such a good argument though, because it is like, I think Mum was saying, like when you're watching a show like that, when you're sat in the comfort of your own home and you're just watching something, it's very easy for you to just be like, oh my god,
baby.
They would want to kill the baby, or
Yes.
they would do this, or you would do that to a person. But it's like, you literally cannot guarantee how you would react under
No.
a situation where you could brutally die.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if for another person's baby if I'd kill myself for it
No.
when I'm that close to the end.
But he
then you could also
promised-
say like, he didn't have that much to live for anymore anyway, because his daughter hates him. All of the people he cares about died in the game.
But I love that detail of his character, though. He felt that he had failed as a dad, and
He
they
was
didn't
making up for
overplay
it.
this, but he was clearly making amends.
No, definitely. And you know, when I'm looking back at season 1, he becomes a father figure to the girl who
Yeah,
dies in season
yeah.
1, and that bit's awful,
Oh, that's gold,
because he's kind of like similar to what he ends up doing for the baby, but like tries to mend his relationship with his daughter through her, and then he tries to do it with the pregnant girl in this. He then dies. The baby's like his final chance
Yeah.
to really make
Redemption.
amends.
And what's his final line? He says, "We are humans."
We are not horses, we are humans, and humans are, and then he jumped.
Oh, don't set her off again. Oh, I can't believe it was such a slow motion arcing shot. Again, really brilliantly done.
I've seen a bunch of people, the shot where he's falling in
Yeah.
slow-mo, they're just putting their hand in front of the screen and ending
Rescuing.
the episode where you catch him, so you
Oh.
just convince yourself that he didn't
Yeah,
die
I didn't
in
want to
the fall.
see his splatter, but they had a couple of kind of empty, because then suddenly the whole place has to blow up. The external narratives come in; they're all coming in, and suddenly the front man is like a babysitter. Suddenly, isn't he? He's got to rescue the baby, they take you back to some of the empty locations or interiors of where the games have been, and I likened the
loved
body
that
splat.
bit.
It was so effective. But the body splats were like mosquito. You know
Oh,
when you
it's
hit a
horrible.
mosquito on a wall? It was
I loved
like
seeing the
that.
empty rooms, it was really eerie.
Yeah.
But
So it's
I've also
tragically
seen
sad.
that they had the reason why when 456 says his final kind of message into
Yes.
the lens, like into the camera, is that he's saying it to us as the viewers, because we are the ultimate VIPs, because
true.
we've had great pleasure and enjoyment in watching a series full of people dying brutally. So it's like he's saying the message to us as the viewers as well, which I think is so cool.
It's so cool.
Because
And-
it's right. I was like,
yeah.
damn.
And weirdly, by this point, the VIPs looking through their kind of, opera house binoculars, they don't. There's no chink in their armor. They don't have a moment. They're kind of curious.
Well, everybody actually argues that they do have a moment in
No,
this,
but they're
because
curious
they don't
about-
say anything after he jumps off, because they thought he was going to kill the baby.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, you're right.
They
So
they're like dead silent after he jumps. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, no, I do
they
remember
don't say
that.
a single thing. They all
I
just
do remember
watch,
that. They all just watch.
gobsmacked for the first
So
time.
curiously, the VIPs had ended up working for me by the end.
No, yeah, they did.
And so how, before we sort of do the mop up and then the point towards what could be the next series, what do you think of it in terms of watching? Is it a show that, I think some people could argue that it's a show that indulges our worst fantasies? It is about watching people struggle, and there's a sort of nastiness in watching people go through hell and us witnessing the worst and the best and the worst of people. I mean, I think people who would say that need to remember it's a fiction, and I do sometimes think that actually in shows like this where you're forced to entertain, because I don't know if you do this, I mean, all the way through it I'm asking myself, what would I do? What would I do?
Yeah,
What would I do? Who would I do it for? What would I feel like? And I think there's huge catharsis in that, because it's what if, it's not going to happen, touch wood.
Yeah.
But and as you're watching it,
You know what? Like this time when I was watching it, I was like, it really could happen.
Well, yes.
Who's to know that kind of stuff's not happening right now, because nobody knew about it.
That's true.
Within the world that it's in.
Epstein's Island, Puff Diddy's freak-offs,
Do you
and
know
all
what I
that
mean?
kind of
There's a lot of stuff
There's a
going
lot
on we
of
don't
dodgy
know
stuff
about.
going on in the world.
I mean, I don't know. People tell me people that be like, I don't know, hating on something like this being made annoy me, because I think there's so much importance in a show like this being made.
Yeah, I do.
Because it does, even if it's shown to us through really brutal, messed up stuff, like it is showing a message to us on humanity. And if a bunch of people can turn a blind eye to genocide, then you can't really have a problem with a fictional world of
very good point. Very good point.
Deaths.
Very good point. Very good point. And so in the final analysis, it kind of ties itself up. There was some quite neat bow tying, I thought, in terms of our main character 456's daughter.
Yeah, I mean, you've always got a problem with like finishing a series like this that you do.
All the right people get credit cards with lots of money on.
You have to kind of clean up all the plot holes and stuff. So
the
it was
North
always
Korean
going to be
girl,
a little bit weak going through all of the stories.
But I actually, so tell me how has it gone down? So, you know, a North Korean girl kind of heads off to maybe meet her child.
We find out her child might not be dead, that she might be able to find her child.
The guy she was rescuing is back with his daughter who's survived cancer.
Now.
And
456's daughter receives money for the prize.
The man I've got a fat crush on, the front man, is driving around LA, and then
but then also the baby's been given to the detective, who's the front man's younger brother.
Yes,
who's also been given the winning money. And we see front man in a car, and what does he see, Dad?
Oh my God, he sees my bête noire, my nemesis. Fucking hell, there's only I said it, I called it first. You could hear the sound off camera, couldn't you?
Yeah.
And you could hear them, they're playing that game, and you're thinking, oh no, and he winds the window down. You look down a side alley, and there's, what's her fucking name?
Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett is in the suit getting a poor
guy. It's the new salesman for the American version.
Which I got excited about that, but you're saying a lot of people are not excited.
I think everybody thought that is as exciting as the American version's
okay, they should just leave it there.
I just think it's going to be rubbish.
And there's something about Kate Blanchett that I find profoundly irritating, and I don't know why. And so
it's because you didn't like
Tar.
Yeah. That's
anyway,
the only reason.
But I was like a kid in a sweet shop as I ran around frantically going, yes, there's going to be an American version. So
I don't know
kind of
how
excited.
I feel about the American version, but I can at least be settled in the fact that like this Korean version has left it at the perfect point.
Yes, it really has.
If it gets really weak, then it's not their problem. It's the American version.
And I think a really neat way to end this show. It was a real moment where everyone goes,
pass the baton.
Pass the baton. But what happens to the front man? What does he do? Where is he now?
Well, he might make an appearance in the American one. You never knew.
I hope so.
But
fabulous show.
It just is. It just doesn't disappoint.
Honestly, if you haven't watched it, well, you probably have if you've got to this point in our review, because at the end of the Squid Game season 3. But it really is. It's a reward, and it's cinematic. It's beautifully made. It's brilliantly scripted.
The acting genuinely is just some of the best acting because I just don't understand how the actors are at that level, because it's stressful to watch, right? But they're literally having to be in that level of stress all the time. I just don't know how they physically do it. But genuinely, I wish something like that would win Oscars, because I think way better than majority Oscar-winning performances.
You're right. I think it'll do well at the Emmys and the Golden Globes. But also a good kind of sign is that Maddie's mum, and my partner didn't want to watch it. But she
mum hates that kind of stuff, but can't help it because it's just too good.
It's too compelling.
It's too
and it's
good.
It's not the violence that's too compelling. It's the human interest stories, the humanity.
Yeah,
human choices.
And each character is so well thought out.
Yes.
Like, even if they're only in it for like a split second, every single person is given something that makes you go like, oh.
Can I just say one final thing to you? I'm not going to be your lunchbox.
I don't feel like being your lunchbox. Wait, and I'm going to rate it as a show 100 out of 100.
I've got to give it 100 out of 100. It's impeccable.
Because even if there is something that wasn't that great, the good outweighs it.
Yeah. And it's really hard to keep it going to this level at season 3. I mean, look at Stranger Things. Things go off piece, don't they? No, it's 100 out of 100 across the board. So many great performances.
I might put myself through all of the pain again and rewatch the entire franchise.
Well, you can watch it again with Paddy.
No, but I mean
from the beginning. Wow.
I've watched season 1 twice already. So.
Wow. Sucker for punishment. But I'm not going to be your lunchbox.